It's like you're making me work for it, Stuart. All right, so this time around it's Old Rasputin from North Coast. Uh, but we're guesstimating somewhere between 4 and 6 years old.
Yeah. It's been chilling out in my cellar for the last 4, 5, 6 years, however many it's been. Ooh.
This one's much more on the almost a chocolate cookie type flavor, but not like super sweet cookie, like more of a British biscuit, quote unquote.
This has mellowed. Old Rasputin is well deserving of its place as one of the top imperial stouts in the world. This is a ridiculously good beer.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say 4 years. It's been
4+.
4+ years. It's been sitting in my basement. It's mellowed it out, so it's a lot more restrained. Hence the British biscuit rather than American cookie. So it's more of a milk, a dark milk chocolate, I guess we could say. Because milk chocolate can be very sweet. This is more of a higher cocoa, but not a very high cocoa. It's more.
I'd say a really
rich rather than sweet.
I would say like the Godiva baking cocoa that they make. You know, it's a bit richer, not super sweet, of course, because well, it's cocoa powder, so there's no sweetness in it. But from a flavor perspective, it would be more like that.
It's rich, but it's not that super puckery, bitter, acidic, very high cocoa chocolate. It's richer. It's more.
So now I think we need to go get like some of that good make a big old red velvet cake.
But
perhaps the afternoon activities are evolving.
On the nose, there's again, because it's an ale and it's brewed at higher temperatures, it's got that lovely fruity, rich nose to it from the dark malts and the higher fermentation temperature and the North Coast yeast strain. There's that chocolate coming through subtly on the nose.
Definitely earthy. There's no telling what hops they use. North Coast is, well, I mean, they're just an amazing brewery. I had the occasion to meet one of the owners last year, and just really committed to making fantastic beverages. They seem to be really big on subtlety. Like they really. I can't think of a single North Coast beer that's in your face. That's not what they do.
That's a very good point. I mean, I hadn't thought of it quite that way until you phrase it that way. But you're right. Brother Thelonious.
Yeah.
Beautiful Belgian beer, Belgian style beer from the North Coast. It hits everything you expect of the style, but it doesn't go flying over the mountain.
Grand Cru. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to talk about subtlety, it's kind of like for the longest time. I know.
If you never had North Coast Grand Cru, get some.
Yeah.
It's expensive and worth every penny.
And I should point out from the owner, in contrast to this, where Old Rasputin definitely gains over time, the Grand Cru does not need to be aged. As a matter of fact, he said it doesn't really gain much of anything. It's not to say it gets worse, but just there are beers that very much benefit from aging, and there's some that don't. Some are negatively affected, some are neutral, but Grand Cru falls in that category of aging is neutral, so don't bother. Just buy some and drink it.
Buy some, drink it, and enjoy it for what it is, which is
definitely buy 2 bottles of this at least. Drink one immediately. save the other for at least a year and try and remember what the difference is.
What you do is you get on the gravy train where you buy a case a year, so you can drink several of them fresh, sell the rest.
Second through the year.
Next year you buy another case, drink several of them fresh, then drink one of the salad.
Yeah.
You can build up this nice staggered vertical of different years at different points in the cellaring, the aging stages. And then you'll know what the sweet spot is for your personal taste. Your sweet spot may be fresh, your sweet spot may be 3 years. For me, the sweet spot for the Imperial Stouts tends to be 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
This has got more than 3 years on it. Maybe not as many as 6, but 4+ years. And that subtle, that gentle hand is coming through. And this is part of an argument I have with people frequently who say that, oh, the best beer for getting people away from the mass brands is insert double IPA here. It isn't. The best kind of a beer to break someone away from the mass brand is something which is rich, fully flavored, but subtle.
Yeah.
The amount of people who make the leap from something with light in its name to something with double IPA in its name, you're more likely to frighten the light beer drinkers away permanently than you are to calm them. And
I'll say that it's one of those things with getting people into craft beer. Some people respond well to the throw the kid in the pool and he'll figure out swimming method. But there are a number of people who need to be coached. And I would say it's probably better to err on the side of coaching, and if somebody responds well, you can quickly ramp them up to double IPA. I mean, you'll tell if somebody really just is like goes gaga over, oh wow, this is cool, let's try something else. Then they're much more open to jumping as far as they can. Whereas if somebody's very kind of, I don't know, I'm not really into beer. I'm a strong flavors are too much for my delicate constitution. Then maybe you need to ease them in a little bit more.
I love places like locally J. Clyde where you can buy flights, because with someone who's a bit nervous about getting into craft beer, presenting them with however many your flight is, between 5 and 10 beers, and talk to the person. Say, okay, this is a Hefeweizen. What you're expecting is bananas and cloves. This is an Imperial Stout. What you're expecting is dark chocolate, dark coffee, dark fruits. Don't just throw something at the person who's only ever drunk brands advertised on TV before.
Yeah.
Take a gentle approach to them and accept that they may despise your favorite beer.
Yeah. Well, that's the point, is that you can't make somebody like the stuff that you like. It's like, you take your friends to your favorite restaurant in the hopes that they'll enjoy it as well, not with the expectation that their continued friendship hinges on them liking that dish. That's the fantastic thing about craft beer is, just thousands and thousands of individual expressions, and any one of them can end up being more favored than another. I still don't have what I would consider to be my quote unquote favorite beer. It always amuses me when people ask me that, because I'm like, I don't think I'm really legally allowed to have a single favorite. I'm going to style myself to be some kind of craft expert, having had hundreds and hundreds of individual expressions, and having worked in the industry as someone who's supposed to have a valued opinion. I don't think it behooves me to pick one individually. It's to say, all right, I prefer certain styles over another at different times of the year, and when I'm in a different mood, and if I'm eating it with something at X, Y, or Z, so you go through phases, and I think that's a healthy thing to do. I'd actually be very skeptical of someone who only drank one thing and one thing only.
The the the, the question, what is your favorite beer, is is fundamentally a void question. It presupposes that you can have a favorite. How how is it possible to have a favorite one out of how many different beers are there up to around the world now? 22, 23,000, 25,000 different beers.
Oh, who knows?
How can you possibly choose one?
Yeah.
Saying what's your favorite beer to me gives me an insight into the question and not the question. The questioner is most likely someone who's drinking the mass brands, which are largely indistinguishable from each other. And for those of you out there who are Bud Miller Coors aficionados, I'm sorry, but they are largely indistinguishable from each other.
Yeah.
With stuff like this, where this is North Coast's expression of the Imperial Stout. We've also had the Courage expression of the Imperial Stout. We've also both had Good People's two wonderfully, drastically different expressions of the Imperial Stout category.
Well, yeah. Well, it's worth noting Fatso's only 8.5% versus El Gordo's 13.9.
13.9. It's a living product. Sometimes there's subtle variations from batch to batch. It's impossible. It's impossible to answer the question, what's your favorite? For me personally, Old Rasputin has a particular warm spot. I have a soft spot for Rasputin.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was the first Imperial Stout I ever drank. It completely shattered my perceptions of what a stout could be.
Yeah.
I drank it almost exclusively for several months, then went off it completely, and came back to it sometime later and said, "Holy expletive deleted! This is some amazing expletive deleted."
Yeah.
And that to me is the fallacy behind the "what's your favorite" is if you eat only one thing or if you drink only one thing, your palate gets tired.
Yeah.
You get fed up with it, you need a change.
Yeah.
If it doesn't make your palate tired, there is nothing there to tire your palate.
Yeah.
This is a beer which everyone should try at least once. And don't say to me in internets, "I don't like dark beer." If you drink coffee, you should be able to drink this kind of beer.
You can drink it with no problem.
I don't drink coffee simply because the acidity upsets my stomach. So for me, this is my substitute.
Never mind the fact that the inherent chemicals inside do drastically different things. One goes up, one goes down. Flavors are the same. The effect is a little different.
So the effect's a little bit different. One's a stimulant, one's a depressant. Anyway, where were we? So, Old Rasputin, North Coast Brewery, they make all of their beers are fully worthy of your attention. Oh, you in the internets.
Mm.
If you drink coffee, you should try North Coast Old Rasputin Imperial Stout. If you have the patience in the room, cellar it. This is a much subtler, much gentler version of what it is when it's fresh, but it still has that powerhouse of flavor, and it's now picking up some of those interesting oxidation characters of the fruity port sherry characters coming out more.
Yeah.
After 4-ish years.
So definitely have one of these with chocolate cake. This is a beer where you can have it with cake and eat it too.
Don't make Guinness cake, make Old Rasputin cake.
And there you have it.